Here. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, October 19th, 2021. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the author of Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent. And I'm the host of the Side Hustle Lounge podcast, where we talk about legitimate income opportunities, the mindset it takes to succeed, and then how we celebrate success through adventure and relationships. It's my pleasure to be here today with my co-host, Laura Biewer. Laura, hello and welcome. I know, there you go. How's it going, Laura? You're still on mute if you want to unmute, if you have time.
Yeah, attendees are just passing by to start their lunch, and glad I'm going to be able to be with you for part of the time today. Welcome, everybody. Exciting news this Saturday is the New Jersey Real World Training. Your new laws take effect the 22nd, and I will include them on the 23rd. So anybody who's New Jersey and you want to get in on that, it's going to be 10 a.m. your time, which is 7 a.m. my time, this Saturday. And we still have some seats available. Also, Notary Symposium is almost here, a couple weeks away. We still have some seats there. And if you have any questions about that or want to check it out, go to our website, notarysymposium.com. There's a whole bunch of FAQs there that'll answer almost every question that you could possibly have. And I think I'll leave it there, Bill.
All right, sounds good. I put the New Jersey training link inside the chat window for you too. It's just coachmelora.com/NJ. You can save $70 by using coupon code PEEPS, PEEPS. That's very limited seating. So if you want to join in New Jersey, jump on that right away. All right. And I'm super excited today to welcome our co-host, our third co-host, our third wheel, if on the Tuesday Notary Titans this week. It's my pleasure to introduce Seben Griffin III, otherwise known as Griff. Griff, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank y'all very much for having me. Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I ain't gonna lie to you. Yes, but I'm glad to be here. Yeah, so I'm here.
Good. All right, Griff. And I totally get feeling nervous. Luckily, you were among friends here when I posted that you were going to be joining us here today. I got so many comments and then text messages on top of that of people that just really enjoy being in your orbit because you deliver value via your YouTube channel. You are constantly available for notaries, not only in your home state of Virginia, but all over the country. And it's truly appreciated. And we invited you here because we'd love to hear your perspective on some of the questions that come across today. So welcome, everybody. You know exactly how this show works usually. We got some new faces on here today, but TNT is like a old-fashioned call-in radio show, except we're on camera. And we answer questions all about the notary business. The best way to do this is to raise your hand using the raise hand feature on Zoom. And then when we call upon you, please tell us what state you're in. Your state is extremely important to help get the most accurate answer. And then jump right into the question. Just jump right in. You don't have to tell the story of how you got there. If we need some backup info, Laura, myself, or Griff will ask for some follow-up or backup information. So let's try to help as many people as we can today. All right, first question's up. Apollonia from Illinois. You've got it all over your Zoom. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. How can we help today?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking my question. Hello, Bill. Hello, Laura. And Uncle Griff, welcome to the crew today, sir.
Hey.
I'm so proud of you. So exciting. You do great and amazing content. So congratulations on your debut on TNT. So excited to have you.
Awesome.
My question for Laura. Laura, I have a question regarding, in particular, literally just stamping the notarial certificate. There was a post in a Facebook group this week where someone stated that their stamp and signature was copied over to another document that they did not even stamp or sign. And you can tell that it had been copied because there was bits and pieces of the actual stamp missing. My question to you is, oftentimes when I'm the second signer on a split signing from another state, I've noticed sometimes a notary will literally stamp and then like sign some type of way in the stamp. My question to you is, as it relates to preventing our stamp from being copied, I don't know that we have much control over that, but is there a specific way that we're actually supposed to stamp our notarial certificate in a way that it's either close to our signature, close to something so that it's not copied and it's indicated that it's an original stamp and not a copied stamp?
Well, what most states are asking is for you to affix your official seal logically associated to your signature, which means above, below, to the side, not on a separate paper, not at the top, not dangling anywhere else. So that's the direction. I'm not aware of any other specific directions to indicate that that's original, other than that's also photographically a reproducible color of ink that you use. Now, some notaries use, the ones that are allowed, use an embosser, which is the crimping device in the corner of the pages without any ink as their non-official, but I cannot suggest that for all states, because there are some states that is their official, device.
Okay.
Yeah, tough situation. Laura, I'd love to hear your perspective on this, though. If you were in the situation where this notary noticed, maybe because the file came back or there was an error on some and noticed that somebody had perpetrated fraud, what would you do about that?
So if I'm sorry, half of what you said, Bill, I couldn't catch. I took my headphone off. If it happened to me?
Yeah, if you caught somebody who had perpetrated fraud against you, they copied your notarial seal and signature, what would you do about it?
The first thing I do is report it to the police. And that is what's required by the Secretary of State, is that we report it and get a police report on that. The other thing is that I would immediately change my seal. The Secretary of State can give me a different shape or a different border, so that now the seal going forward doesn't look like the old seal. Of course, they've got it reported what the old seal looked like that the fraud had happened on. So those are the few things that I can do. It would not do any good to call your E&O, because unless the fraud happened, they're not going to help you until something happens, because that's insurance.
Excellent. Thank you for following up. And Apollonia, thanks for bringing that to us. All right, Randy Venters, thanks for being here. And I did see your email come through.
Morning or afternoon, whichever applies. I guess it's afternoon for everybody now.
Exactly. So you have some questions on some documents, right?
Yes. So if you want to
All right.
open the compliance one up first.
Sure.
So this is probably a Laura question. If you scroll down to the notarial block a little bit.
Yeah.
So I get this one all the time. It says, on this day personally appeared before me, blank, with a whole lot of blank space. And I was always taught before me goes, I immediately after before me is always my name or notary public. And then I need to add the signer's name someplace. Am I correct?
So on this day, it isn't always that your name follows. Grammatically, it could be different. There are some states that are expecting you to have your name. Right now, what I see is it says before me. It doesn't give me a place to put my name. I am the me. And then let's say it's Joe Signer, to me known to be the party. So Joe Signer is the one that I know as the party. I don't know myself as the party. So that's what's telling me that's what's going to go in the blank line. And if you only have one name, then I would strike the second line like a blank check. Don't leave it open where other things can be added.
Okay. So Bill, can you scroll down to the second page then? So what I did was I added Randy Venters, notary public, comma, personally appeared Because
Sure,
that's what I see on a
you can
lot of
do
other
that.
wording.
You
Okay.
can do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
Okay, I didn't know if I was adding too much, too little, just enough. Okay. All right, and then Bill, can you open the E&O one? This next one is a E&O agreement from a local title company that I've done a few signings for. And usually they're late night ones. In the past, I've not notarized them. This last time I had, keep going down to the notarial block and then maybe blow it up a little bit to make it a little bit easier to read.
That's what we got. Sorry.
Okay, you're good.
Oh, wait, here we go.
So this one, to me, it's missing. It doesn't say acknowledge or signed and sworn. It says signed by, but it doesn't say sworn by. In the past, I've not notarized it. Last week on Friday, I think it was, I did an office. No, actually, it was yesterday. I did an office signing for them. And then there was another problem. So I took it in there and I said, hey, I can't notarize this. There's no notarial language. What kind of, what do you want? Do you want an acknowledgement or a jurat? And of course, the title officer didn't know. So she just kind of guessed jurat, and that's what I gave her. But am I wrong? Is this okay? Am I missing something out of this?
Well, yeah, the problem is that it says that the names are subscribed. So the person whose name is signed to the document. The problem is we don't know how you know that. What you know is that they showed up. What you know is who they are. What you know is that they signed it, but what you don't know is how that happened. And the word acknowledged would say they told you, and the words before me, subscribe before me, would let you know that could be signature witnessing, that you witnessed the signature. So that's why the word acknowledged is so important. Or I mean, I wouldn't guess it was a jurat because I don't see an oath. So that wouldn't make sense to me. What would make sense is that they meant it to be an acknowledgement and they left out the word, or they meant it to be signature witnessing and they got a whole bunch of other stuff going on there than what they needed. I think, personally, I would think this was probably meant to be an acknowledgement and they left out the word acknowledgement, which can happen. Acknowledge, they could just accidentally leave out a word. But you were doing the right thing, Randy, to ask. Although I don't think title's going to know a notarial question like that. They probably don't know what's required, but whatever direction they give you, then that's what you're going to do.
Right. Because she's like, oh, well, no one's ever brought this up before. You're the first person to say something. And I'm like, well, I'm not, because I've said something to the signing service before, and maybe they haven't addressed it with you.
Yeah, if they're not requiring somebody to swear to the truthfulness of a statement, the acknowledgement's going to be the default to that.
Right. Okay. And then I added a loose jurat, but I should have added, I mean, if they would have said acknowledgement, which is what it would be, I would add a loose acknowledgement because the acknowledge word is not in there.
Right. But since they gave you that direction, then that's what the right thing to do was. Even if they were wrong, that's what they asked. And if that's not recorded anyways, it's been notarized. Probably nothing's going to come of it.
Right.
It's where it really becomes important is when it's a court record, a recordable record, one that's going to go for apostille to the Secretary of State. I mean, that's when I have real concerns about that technicality.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Great question. Griff, that's where you and I just say ditto what Laura said.
Unless he has another opinion. Where did he go? Oh, there he is.
He's here.
Hey, Griff.
Here.
Griff,
we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, when it comes to notarizing those identity forms, I try to really make sure that I'm understanding what the notarial language is saying, because sometimes they'll have all kinds of stuff, like Laura said, missing in there. They have things added. Sometimes I've seen where they'll make it seem it's basically saying I, the notary, am certifying that I saw this and I saw that, and it has nothing to do with the signers, even though the signers are signing the paper. So I always read over that notarial language really, really careful. And just like the NNA said, it has to be the proper notarial language with the right verbiage in there in order for you to be acknowledging, because they are supposed to acknowledge something And it's not about me acknowledging something that I did.
Right.
Wonderful. Thanks, Griff. Rosetta Easley, thank you so much for being here. Would you like to unmute, tell everybody what state you're in and how we can help?
Hello, everyone. I am from Wilmington, Delaware, and I just have a simple question here. I would like to ask about dual commission. Is that even possible? I know that I am also a wedding officiant. I was to do a wedding in Clearwater, Florida, a couple of weeks ago, but the bride sent me, I guess, their form or whatever from the wedding place or whatever, the place that was doing her wedding. And basically it said that the first line just scratched me out from doing that, because it said I had to be a notary in the state of Florida in order to be to officiate the wedding. So is there a way that I can be have dual commission? Even if
great.
And I'm sorry, because I live here in Delaware, but I also have property in Alabama. So I wanted to go ahead and get my commission in Alabama as well. Is that possible?
Great question, Rosetta. So the dual commission thing, I think, Griff, do you have any immediate feedback on that with the state requirements?
Well, one of the things I do know, and I had looked into it for someone else as well as myself, is that in some cases, the state that you're in has to allow it. That was one of the things that I found out. So even, let's just say in this case, Florida says you can, but Virginia may, and since my case, Virginia may say, no, we don't want our notaries to be dual commission. So you have to find out not only whether the second state will allow it, but also whether your current state will.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also know for Virginia and like Virginia, North Carolina, since we're on borders with each other, there's certain work and residency requirements. So like in Virginia, if I'm constantly working in North Carolina, then there's a possibility that I can be a North Carolina notary also. So you have to find out what the residency requirements, or if you're not living there, what are the work requirements, and whether or not your current state will allow you, their notary, to be a dual notary. And if all of that stuff is kosher, then yeah, you can do it. If not, then you just have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Can I jump in on the Florida thing real quick?
Okay, well, if we could maybe finish our responses.
Yeah, once that, Celicia, yeah. So really what it boils down to, Rosetta, is it's state specific, just like everything. Okay. So if you have to check the state you're commissioned in, because sometimes they'll say you cannot have a dual commission. It doesn't matter if it's a border state, it doesn't matter where it is. But you also have to check the other state as well and make sure that you're in compliance and integrity with those laws. Laura, did you have something you want to throw in there?
I did. That was part of her question, but her other part was about the wedding part. And I just want to say there is a difference between the notarial act of performing a marriage, which would have to be done by only Florida notary, or only in a state where the notary has that act, and being a wedding officiant, which can happen in any state. So I want to make sure, Rosetta, that you are clear that you as a wedding officiant, you're not performing the notarial act of that, because you don't have that in your state in Delaware, but they do have that in the state of Florida. And there's, I think, 4 or 5 states that have that.
Okay, because I'm with the American Marriage Ministries, and it basically advised me that I was able to perform it to be a wedding officiant all states except Virginia. So, but now I would need to, and I have one coming up next year for, actually for New York and for South Carolina. So I would basically just need to check for those particular states to see if that notarial act is needed as well, because I'm not a notary in those states, like with Florida.
So Rosetta, yeah, it might be a notary. It might be a different role depending on the state. The difference is that one's a paperwork role, and one's an officiant role. So you can be an officiant no matter what, everywhere, but it may or may not be the legal binding part that needs to happen. So that extra role is what you have to clarify, and you might have to get someone local to be that part, but you can still be the officiant and deliver a wedding ceremony. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because that I was reading the paperwork as stating that I had to be a notary in that state in order to even perform, to officiate the wedding, period.
No, it just wouldn't be legally binding unless you had the extra part to go in place there.
That makes sense to me now, because I'm thinking, oh Lord, am I going to be a notary in every state?
I looked into that, Rosetta. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. Not quite there. All right, great question, and thank you for bringing that to us. And Griff, thanks for your answer. Laura, thank you as well. Celicia, we'll come back to you a little bit later. I think we got there. Greg, thank you for being here. Would you like to unmute? Tell everybody what state you're in and how we can help.
Yeah, hi, I'm in California, and my question is about the Uniform Residential Loan application. Great. And it is specifically about who and when gets initialed in the 1A box where it says your initials. When this form originally came out, I was told it only got initialed if they were applying for joint credit, because it's right next to the line saying each borrower intends to apply for joint credit. Then I was told that even if they're applying for individual credit, the person's name who's in that box is the one who would initial it, regardless whether it's individual or joint. And then last week, I did a split signing. The 3 signers were a father and his 2 sons. I was part 2 of the split signing. I was signing one of the sons. And the previous notary had the father and the other son initial in both of their boxes. So
confusing, right?
It's very confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to go first on this one, Laura or Griff?
I'll let Griff go.
Griff, you got some feedback on this? You see this a lot, right? You're still muted though. Thank you for following the rules, but
oh, there we go.
Got another Laura Jr. over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She trained me well. Well, over and over again, a couple of months ago, I talked to a processor, and what they was telling me, a loan underwriter, they was telling me that the person whose name is up there at the top, I'm looking at one now. So the person whose name is up there where it says 1A personal information is the person who's supposed to initial in that box. And then if there's a second person, then and that's only if it's joint. So far, I haven't had anyone send back a document saying, hey, you didn't have them sign it when it's individual, as an individual. Mm-hmm. But I have heard other notaries say that they've been told that they have to have somebody signed no matter what. So I don't think, somewhere along the line, somebody doesn't really understand. And now there have been some documents, and I think I want to say either Wells Fargo or Bank of America, where it might be Bank of America, where they actually, where it says each borrower intends to apply for joint credit, they just put the person's name there who's supposed to initial. So when I saw that indicated to me that if John Jones is up there in box 1A, and then they had John Jones' name in the spot where it said your initials, okay, that's who needs to sign there. And I just assume that applies to everybody else. But then I'm starting to find out each lender is looking at it differently. Some are saying, no, they both need to sign. Then some are saying, no, the person whose name is on the right-hand side that's listed needs to initial, and vice versa when it comes. So right now, what I've been doing is just whoever name is in the top box above where it says alternate names, I have them initial there. And so far, no one has read me the riot act on that at all. And when it comes to the individual credit, I haven't had anybody initial it. And so far, I haven't had anybody get on me about that either.
Thank you, Griff. That really highlights the problem with this. The challenge is, right, Laura, we try to apply logic
Yeah.
to this document. It's kind of crystal clear. The person in this box is supposed to do this, and
Right.
only if it's joint credit, but that's
That's right.
just not how this industry
not what's
works
happening.
sometimes. So it's really been a frustration from a signing company perspective, where one lender wants it this way, another lender wants it that way. The closing agent doesn't care what they want it done this way. And everybody wants it its own way. So Greg, you are not alone in the confusion and the frustration on this. What I have done is I get clarification from the closing agent. Now that's easier when you're working escrow direct. It's not so easy when you're working with signing companies, but I get clarification. What are you looking for here? What is it that you're hoping for? But then there's other challenges too. Like if it's not joint credit, but the lender wants them to initial that it is, then sometimes signers don't want to initial that too. Laura, what do you have to say on this? Anything?
Well, I agree with what you guys both said. I think we had the same exact issue with the previous 1009,
Yeah.
right? Where they would have you sign at the top, even when it wasn't joint credit. And so the habit became just do it all the time. And that just seemed to be most of the time satisfactory. On this one, I don't have them initial unless I see there's two people, and then I restrict the first one to the first one and the second one to the second area, unless I've been given instructions to tell me otherwise. So I default to the instruction of the document. And if I get conflicting instruction from the lender, from title, I will follow their instruction. Otherwise, I follow what the document says.
Okay,
That's
well, I'm
about the
glad
best
to know
you can
everybody
do.
else is as confused as I am.
Yeah.
It is now
Thank you.
one workaround too, Greg, is that you have the borrower copies too. So if you wanted to provide one with
I've
the
done
initial
that.
and one without, you can do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for bringing that to the table. We haven't had a loan application question in a long time, so
Yeah.
that was refreshing. Soraya Davis in California, how's it going?
Hi, everybody. So I had a signing on Friday for a guy in California. He was buying a property in Washington, D.C. So we went through the signing, submitted the paperwork, scanned it, was told everything was fine. So something kept nagging at me over the weekend, like, when something's like I needed to go back and look at the document. So when I look back, I noticed that I forgot to cross out the venue on the District of Columbia acknowledgement. And so yesterday I called the signing service and kind of walked her through it because she's not a notary. So I had her pull it up on PDF and show her. And then we both contacted the title company, and I said, hey, ship it back to me at my cost. I'll happily fix it, go, re-sign it according to California law. I detailed to them in the email what California requirements is, because they want to just, probably done it already, want to cross it out themselves instead of letting me go back and redo it the correct way. And so I'm just trying to figure out what else to do, because I contacted everyone, I explained it to them in writing. They're looking at it as Seren, don't worry about it, this happened, no big deal. They even paid me today, which I appreciate, but still, it's like, it's just nagging at me because, my name's attached to that. And we're talking about like a deed, big documents. So I'm not sure what else to do, although they probably did it by now and it's outside of my control.
Or what do you think? How much is too much?
First of all, she's right. They're not supposed to even fix a minor detail like the venue. So we're all in agreement for that. The thing is, if they say, look, we don't want you to fix it, thanks for bringing it to our attention, we'll just do it over here. I can't stop them from putting a strike and writing the correct information. What I can do is document in my journal that I brought it to their attention. I offered to go back out and see the signer. They chose not to move forward with that plan. Right. And this is what they did instead. So you covered yourself, and that's all you can do. And then let it go after that.
All righty.
All right.
Still sucks because my name's attached to it, but I'll get over it.
Thanks, Soraya.
Thank you.
All right, Gia, thank you so much for being here. Would you like to unmute? Tell
Thank
us what
you for
state you're in and how we can help.
Thank you for having me. I'm in California. I have the same question I had last week because I tried the suggestions, which were I'm uploading my information to signing order,
Okay.
and it keeps deleting my information. I've done it 7 times. So at this point, is there a phone number or an email that someone has so I can contact them, so I can get this information onto their platform? I cleared my cache. I also tried Chrome, and it keeps deleting my information.
Have you checked their website, Gia? Like Beth just posted support@signingorder.com, which is kind of the standard email address, but have you checked them out and researched them?
I have not. I can do that. So check their website.
I'll start there. I think that would be a better resource for you. And then I wonder, Griff, you're in the trenches like all day. You've got people who are constantly calling on you. Have you heard of some challenges with signing order, and do you have a workaround?
Yes. I actually went through that myself. And when it started happening, when my son started in the business, with him logging on the same computer as me, somehow, some way, if I log in on the computer,
We're at lunch.
go in there, and when I look at my profile, it has his information in there, and I literally see it change. When I pull my profile up and I hit edit, all of a sudden it goes from Seben Christopher Griffin III to Seben C. Griffin IV, right there in front of my eyes. And I will update it and hit save, and it just stays there. So I just kept playing with it, and it eventually saved. There's also a thing with signing order about what is that thing? It's the URL. There's a URL that they want you to add in there. And with that, you have to do that. You have to add that URL in there. And which is your profile URL. And it seemed like when I did that, that's when it worked.
Okay.
I had
yeah.
to contact them, and they had to change it for you.
Yeah, and when I called them, going back and forth, they was trying to tell me stuff, and I was like, I've done all of that, and I'm telling you, there's a mix-up. And even when I looked at my son's, his had my information in there. So somehow, I don't know what is happening, but somehow the two are getting crossed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. What was your contact to them? Someone said they contacted them. What was the contact email?
It was the support, the same one that the young lady just put in the things, the support.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Debbie Hudson, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you so much. Want to tell everybody what state you're in and how we can help?
I'm in California, and I had what I will call a deathbed signing. Needed some documents notarized, and when he initialed one spot, it was sort of over the text, sort of visible, but not on the line it was supposed to be. When I asked him if this was his legal signature, he said yes. I asked him to describe what he thought he was signing, and he appropriately answered. But when it came to writing his name, it's like a scribble. Do you think that's going to be okay?
Laura, what's your thoughts on this? And Laura, we can't hear you.
Bill, yourself and Debbie each have a terrible echo, so it's very difficult to understand. I don't know, Debbie, do you have any other device open? Bill, you're on twice.
It's mine, Laura. I'm having technical problems, so
Okay.
if you can answer that, I'll mute out.
I'll go ahead. Okay, so I've done those kind of signings, and that's not going to be a problem that it was written. You confirmed that he knew what he was doing and he was still alert and aware, so you're fine with it. It's not going to create a problem.
I had also done a mortgage doc with him like 4 months before. So I had his ID and I sort of knew him personally at that point. And he did confirm that he knew what he was signing. So,
Okay, nothing to worry about.
okay, thank you.
Excellent. Dan Wolf, thank you for being here. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
No, not at all. No feelings for Sal, except the whole switcheroo.
He's talking.
Sorry, guys, we can hear you talking. If you can mute yourself out, I'm just having some technical problems. I cannot get to mute. Griff and Laura, you both have the ability to mute out, but Wanda Pryor, if you could mute yourself, please, that would be really appreciated. Wanda Pryor, can you mute yourself? Thank you so much. All right, let's get back on track now. Dan Wolf, would you like to unmute? Tell everybody what state you're in and how we can help. All right, we'll move on to James Wade. James Wade, thank you so much for being here. Would you like to unmute?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I have a question. I'm in Wisconsin, and I have a question about, I had a signer who his name has a second next to his name. And so his ID matched that he was the second of this particular name, John Doe the second, whatever. And on some of the documents, they had the second. And on most of the documents, they did not have the second. And I decided to, there was whatever, I contacted the signing service. They said that he could, on the instructions on the paper, it said to have him sign as the second. And when I contacted the signing service, they said that he didn't have to sign as the second on those documents that had his name without the second. And so on the only ones that I would notarizing, the ones I was notarizing, I decided that I would attach an acknowledgement or a sworn and subscribe, and then add and put the second on that one and attach that to those documents that were being notarized. But I wasn't sure exactly what to do in this particular situation, and wondering if you have any advice.
Laura, are you available?
I also I'll add one thing. I also checked with his wallet to see if he had another ID without the second, and he did. He had a insurance card without the second. I remember there was some sort of discussion about that in the past with junior and senior, so I checked that as well.
So I certainly do use supplementary ID for name variation. However, when it comes to suffixes, I don't. I go right to, I've got to have the right kind of ID, or I need to go to a credible witness if that's allowed in the state.
No, I had those. I had
Okay.
the state ID that had the correct second on it. I had a social security that had the correct second on it. What I'm wondering about is if I should have attached, when I do the notarization, do I attach, because I attached the acknowledgement and the sign and sworn and then make the correction in the attachment, and then notarize that part of it. That's what I'm wondering about.
I'm not quite sure I understand what you're trying to tell me you did. So it was a notarized document, and then you added?
And then on 70% of the documents, they did not have the second next to the signer's name. It was just his name without first, second, third, nothing next to it, no suffix.
Okay. And were they non-notarized documents, the ones that didn't have it?
Some were and some weren't.
Yeah, I find personally, I don't find that package acceptable. They need to decide. He's one or he's the other. He's the second or he's
Can't
not.
be a mix. I would make them redraw the whole loan.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I don't, as a notary, to say I've identified him as the second, but we're not going to use it, except on these documents we are. I find difficulty with that.
That's why I use the attachments and put his name as the second instead of using their documents.
Just in the notary part is what you're saying.
In the notary part, yeah, where it says his name, they don't put the second. And then and the part where he signs, they also don't put the second. They just have him sign.
But the problem with just adding a certificate and then adding his suffix to it, if it's the kind of document that has to be handled either by a recorder's office and the names don't match, I think that's going to be an issue. And it may end up being rejected by having his suffix in the certificate, but not on the document. I think that's going to create problems down the road.
Okay. So what?
I mean, you've already done it, so we'll see what happens. I'm just saying is suffixes are difficult because there's so much potential for fraud. Once you say, yes, he's the second, then that's how he should be signing his documents. They could have had him added the second by hand behind his name, and that would have made everything consistent.
Right. Yeah, I guess I know that going forward now, but
sure.
And his signature, by the way, I haven't submitted the documents. I just did the signing. So I still have the documents right now, but his signature is illegible as well. So there's no way to tell on his signature part.
But where it's printed, you would know.
Oh yeah, where it's printed, you can see there's no second on 70% of the documents.
That's what I would have asked is, can I go ahead and have the signer add the second to his printed name and then sign his illegible signature and be done with it and be able to use the second in the certificate?
Oh, well, that's where I've had title companies and people tell me, no, you can't change anything. They just have to sign it the way, we want them to sign it.
Well, he can sign it however he wants to sign it. I'm not talking about the signature line. I'm talking about the printed name. Yeah, printed name so I can match it.
Yeah, I'm talking about that too. They told me certain title companies said, do not change the printed part of his signature part when it's.
Okay, but what I'm sharing with you, James, is that I don't really care what they're saying. You're a notary. So you need to draw a line to say, I can do this or I can do this. But I can't just nilly-willy. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. In the same package. That's what I'm saying is the title is not the last word when it comes to impacting a document that has a notary certificate. Now, if it's not notarized, then if they want to mess around with it, okay. I'm not gonna, go to the wall on that. But any document that isn't matching what his ID is, it needs to get consistent. And the title company isn't the last word on how the notary needs to notarize that particular document. I mean, they might think they are.
Right. I understand. Right. Yeah, I know the title company is not the last word. That's why I'm definitely asking for input here because I trust you guys. But okay.
You're in a tough spot, James. Really, you were in a tough spot because they were telling you this is how they want it. We don't want you to fix it. That was a really hard spot for you to be in.
So I could say, well, I need all of the documents to say the same name in order for me to do this signing.
Yeah, or at least all the notarized ones where you're filling out a certificate.
Right, exactly. The notarized ones, especially.
All the notarized ones, those are the ones I have a say in. All the non-notarized ones, it's not on me. Right.
Okay, so now I'm not sure what to do. I just did the attachment with the correct second next to it, and you're right. It may not fly for the county or wherever it's recorded.
Well, if it's on a deed of trust or grant deed, one of those.
It's a mortgage. It's on the mortgage.
A mortgage. Mm-hmm. those are the ones I'd be concerned about, having it in your certificate one way and having it in the document another way. And if you still have the documents, you may want to have another conversation to say, look, here's my concern, is that it needs to match. For me to put it in the certificate without the suffix, when we've proven he is with the suffix, that's two different people.
Yeah, so I should go back to them right now before I ship it off and tell them my concerns and see.
Well,
what they-
at least about the ones that are going to be recorded, because I don't want to see them calling you later to say, hey, it's been rejected. Now you got to do it again.
Yeah, right. So I should call the title company, because the signing company was the one that I talked to before, but
Do you have, does the signing company allow you to talk directly to title, or do you have to start with your signing company?
there's no instructions on that in the instructions.
Okay. Yeah, if you feel that you can talk to the title company direct, so that you can come up with a resolution that's going to work for them and for the document once it goes back to them, that'd probably be the best.
Okay. All right, I'll do that then.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Laura.
Bill,
Laura, do we have to say goodbye to you right now?
you do have to say goodbye to me. I need to go set up the review and get ready for 1 o'clock start time. So thank you, everybody. Good to see you all.
Thank you so much, Laura. If you want to learn more about Laura, she's at coachmelaura.com. All right. Laura, I'll catch you next week. Dan Wolf, are you ready for us yet? Dan Wolf, would you like to unmute? Doesn't look like it. All right, Dan L then. We got a Dan in there. How's it going, Dan? What state are you in?
I'm in California. How you doing?
Excellent. How can we help today?
All right, I got two quick questions for you, Bill. First is when the notary block is cut off on one page, let's say, where the notary signs is on the top of the second page, or in any event, somehow cut off. Do you tend to just add a new, acknowledgement or jurat, just throw that in there?
Yes, always replace the certificate if it gets cut off with whatever it is. If it's a jurat, replace with a jurat. If it's a acknowledgement, replace with a acknowledgement.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's my protocol.
Yeah,
other one is a quick one to save a time and paper. Double printing on front and back on the borrower's copy. Is it not good to do that? Never. I see Celicia saying X no.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I love the idea of saving paper to save the environment, but that's just not industry standard here, and it bites you in the rear end more times than it's going to help you. So don't do it. That number one, it messes up the order. So if somebody wanted to look at it, it jams things up. It jams up your printer. It doesn't save you as much time as you think it does. And if you do end up having a mistake on one of the documents and you want to replace from the borrower's copies, you've eliminated that option by printing dual-sided.
Fantastic. Okay, so X no. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for being here, Dan.
All
Griff,
right.
how you doing over there?
I'm doing good. I was just listening. Yeah, that I don't know why so many notaries think that they need to try to print double-sided, or why they would. I mean, to me, if you're at least 25 years old or older, I don't think you've ever seen a set of a real serious legal documents that was ever printed double-sided. And a lot of people think that, okay, for somebody's mortgage, I'm gonna print it double-sided, but they themselves wouldn't want it printed double-sided for them when they're doing it. So my rule of thought, and I tell notaries all the time, treat the signers the way you would want to be treated if you were the one signing these documents. You wouldn't want somebody just running into your house, slapping the documents down, emailing you the documents, hiding the documents so you won't look at them, double-side printing them and all of that. Because in a loan application, sometimes they'll ask you, hey, can you get, do the pictures of the note or the deed? And I've had one time they actually wanted the actual original sent to them. So if you're sitting here trying to send the original deed or the original note and it's double side printed, and part of in the last page of the note, on the last page of the note is the first page, on the backside is the first page of the deed, that doesn't look too good, So like Bill says, this thing of trying to cut corners and save time and all of that, in the end, it's not. It's going to cause you problems. It's going to cause you big problems.
Yeah, Griff, I'm really glad that you elaborated on that a little bit too, because, and I know this is, especially in the beginning, you start thinking, maybe you're taking some lowball offers, you're like, oh man, I'm only getting paid $80 for this. I got to print out that's 200 pages. How can I save some money? Like, I get it. But I guarantee you that in the long run, that's not really saving you any money. And like I said, it jams things up. But if you really wanted to spend a few extra minutes, the few extra minutes that takes to change your printer settings, or whatever else you might be doing ahead of time, like this pre-stamping of documents, which is against the law, and it's against integrity. But you think you're saving time at an appointment. You're not saving any time at all. It still takes the time to do all those things. If you use that time instead to reach out and cultivate a relationship, find a contact, start growing your network so you get more clients that pay you fair prices, that will be a way better use of your time than figuring out how to save a fraction of a penny on printing. I guarantee it.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I've seen too many times is notaries going to FedEx and UPS, sitting there signing and notarizing the documents. Let me say this, people. When you go to FedEx and UPS, I want you to do something for me. Turn your head up like this and look at the ceiling. They got cameras all in that place. And if somebody who's a notary or understands that you're not supposed to be doing that, walks in and sees you, and they'll butter you up and see how you're doing and get your business card, and they'll report you to the state. And all they got to do is go back to them cameras and see, because you can sit there and like, oh no, I didn't do that. They find out the date that you was there. They look at those cameras. They see that you notarize all of those documents at the FedEx or UPS instead of in front of the customer. And you don't realize that puts that whole process, that whole loan in jeopardy. So here you now, and see, here's the issue that I have with this thing. People whine and complain on Facebook and YouTube about E&O insurance. Should I get this much? Should I get that much? I don't need it. Okay, fine. If you're going to sit here and do illegal stuff, then you better get $10 million worth. That's just the way I look at it. Because if you're sitting here talking about, I don't want to spend money on E&O insurance, should I? Okay, if you're going to do things correctly, legally, the way it should be, then $25K is probably the best for you. But if you know you're the type of person that's going to push the envelope, that's going to do things that is going to be very questionable and that can get yourself in trouble, then you probably need more. And then here's the other part where I look at it. For some of us, if this is your main line of business and this is what you need to take care of your family, why risk it just so you can save some time and money? And I'm seeing a lot of new notaries do this, which tells me one or two things. Either your brain is in overdrive and you came up with this idea on your own, or you're sitting around listening to some senior notaries who's feeding you a bunch of mess to get you in trouble so you could get out of the way, because we keep hearing all these new notaries is making it hard. Well, how do you get rid of competition? By putting out misinformation and telling the gullible new notaries, if you do it this way, because that's what I did, and that's how I save time, you carry your little happy tail out there doing it, and then you get caught, and then they're like, ha, another one's gone. And now I can go get that $85 signing that I've been bragging about that I don't do, but they really do. So that's my thing. You gotta look. And I think Bill can confirm in this business, out of all the different businesses that I've done, my web design, my photography, the Grubhub, all of that stuff, this is very cutthroat with some of these folk. And so much misinformation gets pushed out to try to detract notaries from doing what's right. And a lot of people, in my opinion, are becoming very, very wealthy off of telling you the wrong thing to do. They're giving you a lot of misinformation and making people pay for it. And it's getting folk in trouble. And then you're sitting on the sideline, done lost your commission. And all you have is a huge, big old printer that is now a paperweight. And your spouse is looking at you like, where's the money? And that's the way I look at it. So don't do anything and don't just take everybody's word for it with these shortcuts, because some of these folk cannot be trusted, no matter how cute they are, no matter how nice they are. I don't care how pretty that little Pekingese pup they have in all of their videos and all of that. You got to make people earn your trust. That's just the bottom line.
Sage advice, Griff. Yeah, thank you for taking that and running with it. That's exactly right, guys. You know, when you make a decision to cut corners, you might be thinking it's an $85 decision or a $60 decision, but if you love this business and you're doing it right, that could be $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year decision. That could be $1 million decision to cut corners or step out of integrity. This is a role of integrity. And if you're doing business every day out of integrity, then you're in the wrong place. And like Griff says, there's misinformation out there. Some of it's intentional, some of it's not. But you've got to get dialed in on the right way to do things and know that 10 minutes standing at FedEx stamping documents is still 10 minutes of your time. You might as well do it the right way, sitting at the table in that transactional integrity happening there. All right, thank you so much for that. We have Heather Briggs. We've got time for one more question, I think. Thank you so much for being here. You want to tell everybody? Oh, you're in Oregon. Thanks. Heather Briggs in Oregon.
I am in Oregon. Thank you for being able to answer, well, at least allow me to be here. My quick question, I've had a couple notice of right to cancels, and normally everything's fine, but recently I've gotten a few where below the receipt signature, where they acknowledge that after 3 days, there's an additional portion where it says, I do not wish to cancel. And normally within the wording, it says that they will turn it into title. Well, I had one in particular where I got set back because I missed that signature, but it clearly said after 3 days, they are turning that in. They are acknowledging that they don't wish to cancel. Has anyone had that situation? I ended up saying, I'm sorry, the wording says 3 days. I'm not going to have them pre-sign it. And in the end, that particular signer ended up in the ICU and no one was able to sign it for him. So any words of advice?
Yeah, that's interesting. Griff, do you run into those over on your end where they sign an acknowledgement ahead of time and then send it over to the title company after the right of rescission to confirm that they do not want to cancel?
No, I haven't came across that one yet. But well, I've seen the document that says, if you're talking about, there's a document I've seen maybe 5 times where it says they're signing the document saying, I understand that I'm not signing the right to cancel or something to that effect. You know, that I understand that I have the 3-day right to cancel, and that, you know, something to that effect. Is real sketchy to me the way it's worded, but it's basically they're doing the right to cancel, and then they're still saying that I did not, or no, I'm sorry. It's after the 3-day rescission, they're right, supposed to sign that document saying that they did not sign the right to cancel. That's right, what I've seen. Yeah. That's what I've seen. I've seen them. That's what I told you. I've only seen it 5 times. After the right to rescission, say on today, tomorrow, they're supposed to sign this document saying that they did not sign the right to rescission, and then somehow get it back to the lender so that they can confirm that they didn't sign the right to rescission.
Okay.
That's what I said. But her situation, I haven't
really
seen.
Sketchy, and I just I felt like it was canceling their right to cancel.
So it's not necessarily sketchy, but they do it out of efficiency. And the way I've seen some notaries do it is they'll pull from the borrower copies and they'll say, look, this is what they're going to expect you to send over. So if you want to sign them now so you don't forget, you can do that. And then you're going to scan them over to this email or whatever it is on this date and set a reminder on your phone to do that. Sometimes borrowers don't care. They're like, whatever, you know, they're used to signing all these disclosures, so they sign everything. So you can kind of use your own judgment on what you are comfortable with, and then what the signer is comfortable with as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for bringing that up. Guys, that brings us right up to the full hour. Griff, thank you so much for spending an hour with us. I love that people on TNT got to see your personality, your expertise, your style, and your approach to this business. I bonded with you because you're a man of integrity as well, and I truly appreciate that. And I'm grateful to be in your orbit as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Bill. And, thanks for you setting the bar straight, not just so much high, but just setting it straight, because there's too many crooked bars out there with this business. And you laid it straight as to what I need to do as a notary public. And I followed it, and it has worked hands down. And I'm very, very grateful that, I decided to roll with you ever since you was back there in the car. And I said, this guy's in the car talking. I said, he must be pretty cool and confident about who he is and what he got to say. So I said, let me give this man a shot to educate me on what I need to do. And I really do appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad that we found each other. Thanks for being here. And to all of you who showed up, over 300 notaries today, thank you for growing yourself and your business on a Tuesday. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
Come back, Griff.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a good day.